All right, hey guys, I just got to LA. I am here to do the Bill Maher show this weekend, and I landed and there was some good polling news, and so I figured why not share a little hopium with everybody as we are, all just obsessing over the latest data in between door knocking shifts. So let's break it down for you. The news came from Marist, which is an A-plus rated pollster. It's an independent pollster, did pretty well in 2022. So take it for what it's worth. Pollsters aren't magic. There's no magic special sauce in a pollster. There's some pollsters that had good 2020s that had bad 2022s. But for what it's worth, Marist highly rated, reputable, and independent. Here's what they showed. Kamala Harris up 51-48 in Michigan. Kamala Harris up 50-48 in Wisconsin. Kamala Harris up 50-48 in Pennsylvania. Viewers of this channel know that if Kamala Harris wins Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, and assuming she carries the congressional district in Nebraska that she is heavily favored in, she will be the president-elect of the United States of America. So, being up in all three of those, though narrowly, though marginish, it's notable for sure, and I think it's the best kind of clear good news in one place that she's gotten for polling here in the last week or so. It's worth noting that Marist last polled the race in September. Since then, Harris has gained 2 in Pennsylvania, gained 1 in Wisconsin, and dropped a couple in Michigan. So directionally, things looking good as well. While we're doing positive news, I have been very, very hesitant to do over-analysis of the early vote here on this channel. There are people out there doing that. There are people that have very good reputations as data analysts that are out there doing that on other YouTube channels. The problem is that, because of the way that voting has changed and because of the way that the parties have reoriented, it's just really tough to find a trustworthy baseline. And so, for example, in 2016, a lot of the early vote data strategists in the Democratic Party thought things looked very good for them. Very, very good. They were even more bullish than this year. Obviously, we saw how that went. What happened? Well, they were modeling a bunch of those Obama-Trump voters, working-class white union-type voters, as Democrats, and it turned out they voted for Trump. Then in 2020, it became kind of tough to model because you have this pandemic, a lot of people voting by mail, Donald Trump telling people not to vote by mail, Democrats being concerned about the virus and less likely to want to go into a group indoor space, like waiting in line to vote for a long time, Republicans tending to not care as much about that. So the ways that people voted got scrambled, that made it hard to analyze. Now we fast forward to 2024, and again, it's like, well, are Republicans voting earlier now than they were in 2020 because they're back to their traditional voting patterns? Are they voting earlier in 2020 because they have an older demographic and they like to have early vote that wasn't as available to them? Are they voting early because they don't trust the mail still? It's a little bit hard to tell. And I think that there's some things that people can look at and ways to decipher it. But the reality is, as my former colleague and friend Stuart Stevens, who is over at the Lincoln Project, said during a dispute on Twitter with Nate Silver, he's bullish on some of the one early vote stat that I'm about to share with you, but even he recognizes that he's been on plenty of campaigns where they thought things looked good based on the early vote stats, and it turned out that their model was off, or that they just didn't know what the election day turnout would look like, right? So, anyway, with that long caveat, here's the early vote good news. The percentage of women voters is up across the states. We are seeing in Pennsylvania, there was a stat that 33% of the new voters in the state are Democrats, registered Democrats who are women. In Wisconsin, the head of the party there, Ben Winkler, they don't register. They don't register by party in Wisconsin. But Winkler put out that, again, you're seeing in Wisconsin a greater percentage of women by share than you have seen in past elections. Again, is that just a bunch of women who are very excited to vote because they're pissed at Donald Trump, and there are people that would have voted anyway, and so the turnout will be less on election day? We don't know. So we can't get too excited about it. But in an election that's going to be deeply polarized by gender, it is a good sign when you see increasingly new voters being women, younger women, registered Democrat women in states where that is where they register by party. One other little nugget, private nugget, but a friend that I was talking to that was analyzing the Georgia data was basically seeing similar things to what we're seeing in the data in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, as far as new voters, disproportionately women, and I think that is just maybe just a fig leaf, but that's a sign of something to look to, as kind of you get this influx of information about what we're seeing in these numbers, because it is true that the Republicans are voting also at a higher rate than they were in 2020. But like I said, there are a lot of kind of attenuating circumstances there, and I think that's off. So I guess more than to say that this woman news is amazing, huge. Yes, it means the Democrats are going to win. To me, it just kind of offsets the kind of hopium that the Republican data people are pushing about the greater percentage of voters we've seen from Republicans in a lot of these states than we saw in 2020. So there you go. Marist polls, A+ pollster, across the board. Democrats, Kamala Harris winning, and the Democratic Senate candidates winning in those three swing states. I'm here in LA. I'm going to have a great podcast for you today. I'm going to be on Bill Maher. We're going to be keeping you posted when there's news that breaks like this. And, when I get off an airplane and I get some happy news, I want to share it with you all too. So that's where I am right now. We'll be talking to you soon. Make sure to subscribe to the feed. Subscribe to the feed if you haven't yet. Why wouldn't you have? Or tell a friend to subscribe to the feed. And we'll be seeing you soon. Peace.